Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin has decided to issue hundreds of pardons. In fact, 428 pardons to be exact, and commutations since his loss to a Democrat, Beshear, who we've covered on this show. Now, one of the pardons was for a man by the name of Patrick Baker, who was convicted of homicide. He was convicted of homicide. So we're not talking about pardons for people who were convicted of nonviolent drug offenses. We're talking about people who have caused real harm to human lives, okay? The Louisville Courier-Journal has reported that members of Baker's family have hosted fundraisers, though, for Bevin. So that could be part of the reason why Bevin's decided to pardon him.
That's crazy.
The family of a man pardoned by Governor Matt Bevin for a homicide and other crimes in a fatal 2014 Knox County home invasion raised $21,500 at a political fundraiser last year to retire debt from Bevin's 2015 gubernatorial campaign. The brother and sister-in-law of offender Patrick Brian Baker also gave $4,000 to Bevin's campaign on the day of the fundraiser, and that's according to the Kentucky Registry of Election Finance database. Eric Baker, who is Patrick Baker's brother, hosted a Bevin fundraiser at his Corbin home. State records show that Victoria Baker, who lives at the same Corbin address where the fundraiser was held, donated $1,000 in 2015, and that Kathryn Baker gave another $500 to Bevin's re-election in March. Now, some of you might be thinking, wow, is that really enough money, though, to convince anyone to release someone convicted of homicide from prison? And the answer is yes. When it comes to our politicians, yes. There is no amount of money that's too little. It's incredible. When you have someone who's willing to hold a fundraiser for a politician, if that person holding the fundraiser has a favor, they will voice it. And in this case, it was releasing someone convicted of homicide from prison. He was supposed to serve 19 years. He's only served 2. And Bevin has pardoned him.
The first 2 are probably the hardest. I don't know. So I know that you're gonna get to this.
Don't even joke around. Who knows who will take that out of context?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
I was joking there. I was being sarcastic.
Hey, New York Times.
Oh, geez.
John was joking when he said that. Okay, go ahead.
It's easy to misunderstand people on the radio.
Yeah.
So I know that you're gonna go to this list of really heinous people, and at first I was like, well, I don't know the individual details of each of these cases, but then I started looking at them and they're really bad. One of the things that disappoints me the most about this is that, like, the power to pardon people is one of the most one of the strongest individual unilateral powers that a governor has or a president has, and sometimes it can be used for the right thing. Like I remember Barack Obama, he pardoned a whole bunch of nonviolent drug offenders. That should be like de facto. The next Democratic president should do that for as many as they possibly can. But to use that in this way, when it's so clearly influenced by the fundraisers, I think that it causes suspicion towards any use of that power in the future. And there are people, even people who've been convicted of murder, who did not do it. We know you can't necessarily trust the police or prosecutors when it comes to these sorts of things. But when money is allowed to invade that process, I think it causes a lot of suspicion that might make future governors hesitant to use the power in pursuit of actual justice.
Right, you're absolutely right. So look, there are the immediate ramifications of pardoning someone who's been convicted of a serious crime like homicide. But then there's also, the ramifications in the future where, yeah, you're right. Other lawmakers might be hesitant to release people or pardon people who have been convicted of nonviolent crimes, or maybe have been convicted of a crime that maybe they didn't even commit. But there are issues within our justice system, as we know, with maybe prosecutors who have a bias in the case that they're prosecuting, whatever it is. We've talked about these types of stories on this show like repeatedly, right? There are problems in our justice system. But look, with Bevin, it seems to be politically motivated. It seems to have a lot to do with corruption and political donations. And when it comes to his justification for pardoning someone like Baker, here's what he had to say. Bevin wrote that the evidence supporting Baker's conviction is sketchy at best. I am not convinced that justice has been served on the death of Donald Mills, nor am I convinced that the evidence has proven the involvement of Patrick Baker as a murderer. Now, he didn't specify why. He didn't give any specific examples as to why he finds the prosecution sketchy, but the judge had some interesting things to say about the conviction. Judge David Williams, the former president of the Kentucky Senate, sentenced Baker in 2017. He said that in 30 years of practice, quote, "I've never seen a more compelling or complete case. The evidence was just overwhelming." So look, I don't just simply believe what a judge has to say, right? Because again, there are problems with our justice system. But when you take a lawmaker or a governor who has taken campaign donations from the family members of a convicted felon, and you juxtapose, his personal biases with what the judge has to say in this case, I'm gonna go with the judge. I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah, I'm also worried about, like, to the extent that this is publicized, what effect this is gonna have on the families of people who believe that someone in their family was convicted unjustly.
Yeah.
And we know that there are many cases of that. Think about what they see this and they think, well, am I supposed to, is that our only chance? Is that I'm gonna have to fundraise for whoever happens to be governor at this particular time?
I mean, that's certainly a message that I'm sure some of the lawmakers would love.
It's enough to make you almost think that we should get money out of politics.
100%. Now I want to give you a few other examples of people who have been pardoned by Bevin. You have one man by the name of Micah Cholette, convicted last year of raping a 9-year-old child, sentenced last year to 23 years in prison. Again, also pardoned by Matt Bevin. You have Kathy Harless, convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison after she gave birth in a flea market outhouse and threw the baby in a cesspool. Jesus. I mean, let's just stop right there for a second.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, and these are difficult to even read through, but what happened to all the pro-life people out there, right? Matt Bevin, a Republican, just pardoned someone who threw a baby in a cesspool. Blake Walker, and I mean, this is not a zygote, it's not a fetus, it is a baby. Blake Walker, convicted of killing his parents. Barbara Peterson, 55, and Lindsay Wilson, college teacher, and her husband, Brian Walker, 54, who worked in construction and was a former Peace Corps volunteer, and leaving their bodies in a basement. He was 16. Anyway, the list goes on and on. I don't want to go through all of these.
Yeah, and I don't, until I know more about individual cases, I don't really feel comfortable talking about them because I don't know about the process and everything. But you see where this is going, and you see what obviously was influencing him. And it's on the way out. He wants to clear debt. It's a clear financial conflict of interest. How can that be allowed?
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.